Hey guys, we have talked about dividend ETFs, growth ETFs, and today we're going to talk a little bit about some tech ETFs. In today's video, we're going to talk about 6 great tech ETFs that you could add to your portfolio. Now, these aren't going to be like the growth ETFs like as in QQQ and SEHD. I've made some videos about that and we'll show those in the description and up here. But these are going to be fully tech ETFs that we're talking about. Those that have like software, those that have chips as in semiconductors, and those that just track basically everything that is tech. So when you're thinking about, the near future with robots going around, maybe you're sitting back watching your Netflix or even thinking about how your iPhone works or even your iPad and computer, this is the tech industry and this is how things are going on and working. All right, let's get to it and let's start off with some of our best tech ETFs on the market. Hey guys, my name is Steve. And I run the Frugal Expat website where we try to help people to save more and invest better. And if you like this content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. It really does help out the YouTube algorithm and it helps this video to reach more and more people. All right. Let's get to it and let's start off with our best tech ETFs. Our first tech ETF is going to be IGV, and IGV is the iShares Expanded Tech Software ETF. So this combines a lot of tech and a lot of software in this ETF. Now it's got about 11.6 billion in assets under management with an expense ratio of 0.41%. That means it costs you about $41 for every $10,000 invested. That is quite expensive if you ask me. Now this is the most expense ratio on this list, and so that's why we started off with it first. Now let's take a look at some of the holdings and see if it's even worth holding in your portfolio. Now it's got about 121 different holdings with Palantir, Microsoft, and Salesforce making the top 3 of these holdings. Now it does not have any dividend yield, so if you're looking for dividend yield, this may not be the ETF for you. Now it's got about 104% over the last 5 years with 397.94% over the last 10 years. Now that is a 17.2% average, and that is great news if you're looking for a good performance out of a tech ETF. Now if you're going to invest $10,000 in this ETF 10 years ago, your money would have grown into about $50,777. Now that's amazing news if you're looking for a good ETF that could grow your money. Now this is not my favorite tech ETF. Now a couple reasons why is, there's no dividend yield, but we're not looking for dividend yield. It's got a high expense ratio of 0.41%, so that's crazy to think about. And the performance is good compared to some of the rest on this list. So if I'm looking for a better tech ETF, there are better ones on this list with a cheaper expense ratio and better performance. Let's get to our next one. Now our next ETF is going to be IYW, which is the iShares US Tech ETF. Now it's got about 18.59 billion in assets under management with an expense ratio of 0.39%. So it's a little bit cheaper than IGV, but it still costs us about $39 for every $10,000 invested. Now this is a US tech ETF, so it's got a bunch of US tech companies from mostly large caps, and this is just a good ETF that you could add to your portfolio. Now it does have a dividend yield of about 0.22%, which is more than IGV, but it's also one of the lowest on this list. Now the holdings are made up about 90% tech with about 8% in communications, and most of these are usually anywhere between 95 to 100% in tech. So this has got a little bit more communications in this ETF. Now this one's got about 145 different holdings with about 62% in the top 10. Now you've got companies like Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Palantir, and you've also got Meta, which is a part of this ETF. Now the performance over the long term has been pretty good with about 155% in the last 5 years and about 477% over the last 10 years, which is an average of 19.58% per year over the last 10 years. That's pretty good. I mean, think about that. If your money is growing about 19.58% per year, that is a good way to grow your money. If you would have stuck $10,000 into IYW about 10 years ago, your money would have grown to $59,784. Now that is amazing news. That is great because then your money will continue to grow and grow, and it has a good performance. Now, IYW, is this a great ETF? Yes, it is. It's a great tech ETF, but some of the problems is it's got a high expense ratio. Now that could be kind of cumbersome to some people, and that is just something that I don't like. I like the low cost. Now, it has a great performance. That's good. It's got a small dividend yield, so if you're looking for dividend yield, this may not be the ETF for you. But like I said, it's got a great performance. All right. Let's get on to our next one. Now, our next one, we're going to be talking a little bit something more different. This one's going to be talking about some semiconductors. Now, semiconductors or chips are some great things that are put in everything. You look at your phone. Your phone is, if it's an Apple phone, it's got chips. If it's a Google phone, it's got chips. Now, different semiconductors are in different types of products like cars, your electronic devices, and your TVs, and so many different electronics. So this is an ETF that can kind of take some of those great chip companies, put them together, and give you a great performance. This ETF is called SOXX, which is the iShares Semiconductor ETF. Now, this is one of the best semiconductor ETFs on the market. It's got 11.61 billion in assets under management with an expense ratio of 0.35%. So it costs you about $35 for every $10,000 invested. Now, this ETF has about 35 to 36 different holdings with some of the best companies, as in like you have Nvidia, Broadcom, you have AMD, and Texas Instruments. These are some of those great chip companies out there. Now, it's got a dividend yield of about 0.78%. So if you're looking for a good dividend yield, well, SOXX has a great dividend yield, and this is something that you may be looking into. Now, the performance over the long term has been pretty good. It has averaged about 146% over the last 5 years, 488.97% over the last 10 years, which is an average of about 20.9% average yearly. Now, that's great news because now you can grow your money even further. If you were to put $10,000 in this ETF about 10 years ago, you would have grown into about $66,721. Wow, that's great news. I mean, this is one of the best performing ETFs on this list, and look at the amount of money you could have grown. Now, is this the best semiconductor ETF on this list? Well, if it's my opinion, I would say maybe not. There's probably one other one that I think is much better. The reason I say this is because it is missing one of my favorite semiconductor companies, and that is TSM, or Taiwan Semiconductors. Now, I'm a little biased. I used to live in Taiwan, and so this is one of the best companies out there. It makes chips for Apple, and so if you're an Apple fan, you do have a TSM chip within your device, and that is great news because you're thinking, you're buying, and these great chips. At one point, Google wanted to make chips with them, but they just didn't have the space. So that is the reason. It's got some of the best chips on the market, and so that's why I think maybe you may look at a different ETF that has TSM. But if you don't, that's okay. SOXX is a great semiconductor ETF that you can buy and hold in your portfolio. All right, to our next ETF. Now, our next ETF is one of the best overall tech ETFs on the market. It's got a lot of assets under management. It's got a cheap expense ratio and one of the best performances out there. This is XLK. Now, XLK is the technology select sector by Spider, and this one's got about 66 billion assets under management with an expense ratio of 0.08%. That means it only costs you $8 for having $10,000 invested in this. Now, this ETF's got about 72 holdings, so you're gonna have a lot of money concentrated in just a few different holdings. Now, the top 10 is made out of Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Palantir. Those are great companies. It's got Broadcom and IBM as well, and so that's good news for you. Now, the performance over the long term has been pretty good. Now, it's done about 146% over the last 5 years, with about 467% over the last 10 years, which is an average of about 18.99% average over those 10 years. That is amazing news. I mean, how many ETFs can you think of that make about 19% per year? And that's just purely on some good tech innovations. Now, if you were to invest $10,000 about 10 years ago, you would have grown that money to about $56,899. Now, that's great. I mean, it's not as good as SOXX, but it's got a cheap expense ratio and it's an overall great tech ETF. All right, now this is one of my favorites. Now, I do not own any because I have a better one that I think you guys may like, but this is a great ETF if you want a lot of tech and about good concentration in some of these companies with a great performance, a very good expense ratio. XLK could be that ETF for you. I like it, and if you don't like my other one, now this one should be the one you should buy. All right, let's go on to our next tech ETF. Now, I talked about SOXX as being one of the best semiconductor ETFs, but one of my favorite favorite will be SMH. Now, SMH is the Van Heck Semiconductor ETF. Now, this one's got about $20 billion assets under management. It's got an expense ratio of 0.35%, just the same as SOXX. But so that means it costs about $35 for every $10,000 invested. Now, the reason I like this is because it's got Taiwan Semiconductors. Now, it's got about 26 different holdings, so a little bit less than SOXX. So it's got Taiwan Semiconductors, it's got Broadcom, it's got Nvidia, it's got all those great chip companies in it, and this is why I like it. Now, it does have a lot more concentration because it's got 26 different companies, but because of that, it has had an amazing performance over the last 5 years and the last 10 years, and if you want to grow your money, this could be one of the best ones to grow your money. Now, it's done about 244% over the last 5 years, 765% over the last 10 years, which is an average of about 24.1%. Now, this is the best performing ETF on this list, and if you want to have a good performing and you believe in the chip sector, well, this could be the ETF to buy and hold in your portfolio. If you were to invest $10,000 10 years ago, your money would have grown to $86,639, and that's amazing. I mean, this, like I said, this is the best performing ETF on the market. Now, do I like this one? Yes, I do. Does the expense ratio bother me? Yeah, it's still 0.35%, but if you're looking for performance, the performance kind of outshines that expense ratio. So you want the best performance? Well, SMH could be that ETF for you. All right, my last ETF is one of the best overall ETFs. It's got large caps, mid caps, and small cap tech companies. This ETF has about 80 billion under management, and that is an amazing news with a cheap expense ratio of 0.09%. That ETF is VGT. Now, VGT is the Vanguard Information Technology ETF. This is one of my favorite ETFs on the market. Why? Because it's got a great performance, it's got a cheap expense ratio, and it's got large assets under management, so people like it. It's got about 313 different companies with about 59% in the top 10. And like I said, it's got about Apple, Broadcom, it's got Nvidia, it's got Microsoft. These are some great companies to buy and hold, and so why not buy and hold it all together in one ETF? Now, the performance is quite similar to XLK, so if you are looking between XLK and VGT, you may be looking at the performance, and they're very quite similar. The yields are similar, the expense ratios are similar. VGT just has more companies. Now, it's got about 142% over the last 5 years, and it's got about 467% over the last 10 years, which is an average of 19.12% over that 10-year period. If you were to put $10,000 10 years ago into this ETF, you would have grown your portfolio to about $57,253, and that would be a little bit better than XLK. All right, so this is one of my favorites, so if you like it, you can buy it. There are 6 different great tech ETFs on the market and in this video, so let me know, what is your favorite tech ETF, and which one are you thinking about buying today? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in our next video. So you guys take care and have a great day. See you.